Hi, Alexei. So we're visited by Alexei Novik, Expert Security Center Head in Positive Technologies, and we're going to speak about cyber exercise. You and we do the cyber exercise on the basis of positive infrastructure. So what is the cyber exercise and why do we need it? Well, first of all, I will give you certain clearance. We don't do it on the basis of infrastructure, but on real base that we work with, and the infrastructure that you work with every day in real networks. So we do it in our real network, That's how this exercise is being done. The main objective of this cyber exercise is to check how our information security system works, the one that we built in our company, because according to our opinion, during real cyber exercise, you will be able to see how different procedures are operated. Inside of our company, we have defined inaccessible events that we're afraid of and which to our company can lead to maximal damage. Theft of money, injection of code into our products, supply chain. You speak about vulnerable, even backdoor. If the backdoor will be injected and then will be delivered to our clients, it's going to be a big damage. An example of such attacks against the solar chain were happening like SolarWinds, and in the last 4 years, we're saying that supply chain attacks is a trend. And from year to year, they become more and more obvious, and we'll see more of such attacks. Then, theft of confidential information from our infrastructure, from our network. It's unallowable event that we have defined for ourselves. And the main objective of the Information Security Department, SOC, IT department, is to do it in such a way so that no matter who attacks us, these unallowable events would not be realized. Inside of our infrastructure, we have certain monitoring, we have conducted hardening according to our internal developed compliances, how our informational system should look like. We have implemented a reaction, approved it together with our IT department. And we invite different teams to attack our infrastructure, emulate external fraudsters, internal fraudsters, and see how our security system fights against it. Aren't you afraid to invite external pen testers? Well, this is the infrastructure. I come in the morning, I take my coffee, I open my laptop, and I start reading certain emails, and then you receive phishing letter from some external attack team. In the beginning, we did have something like this. Well, different teams, they use different penetration tactics and techniques. And in the course of last year, we've been looking at 6 different teams which have been attacking positive infrastructure. There were different teams. They have their own footprints. They specialize in different things. So we've been inviting our guys, our highly qualified teams of pen testers and hackers, which also been attacking us. And then we've been looking at how the infrastructure behaves inside infrastructure with our products, how our regulations work, and how the security system was developed from our side. And also inviting just teams from outside with different approaches. And I can definitely tell you that we can clearly see that different hacker teams, they attack differently, and it makes sense. We should see the roots of every team, because the team which is involved in consulting operations in the market, they are targeted for the goals, for success, and they have one type of tactics. Another team which works more in a red team mode, who works in-house, or they provide red team services, not the black box method, but they have a certain knowledge of infrastructure. They understand that they're going to be caught, that somebody will be rejecting them, and there's going to be rejection. It means they need to simulate activities of real hacker. Not just, can you give us the passwords and we're going to do everything ourselves. Right. They are behaving more accurately, more durational with time, more lengthy. Well, from our point of view, the minimal allowable time for real cyber exercise, not less than 3 months. 3 months, yes, because if you reduce it to 1 month or month and a half, the attackers, it's going to be difficult for attackers, especially especially if they work in the black box mode, they have to understand the infrastructure. What do you mean by black box? Well, black box when they know only the external connection, and in the result of the ASIN, they have discovered what belongs to the company, and then they attack it. So they attack blindly without knowing any internal resources. Yes.
Как сторонний человек, как сторонний злоумышленник.
As a third-party person on the side of the criminal. So, on the stage of the investigation inside of the infrastructure, it takes a lot of time. Especially if this team does all of it, hiding and obfuscating their actions. You can give them hints, you can tell them which segments exist in the infrastructure, how they're divided in order to speed up their actions. But it's not so interesting. So 3 months. This is the most optimal time. Also, it is important to look at target setting, because we went through several iterations during this exercise, and target setting has been formed differently. You can formulate the impossible event as the money theft, and then different interpretations begin. Is it possible to steal money? Maybe it's not possible to steal the money, and they get access to one of the accounting computers. They open the console, make a screenshot, and they said, well, we have entered 1C accounting, we can steal your money. After this, the financial department gets in and says, okay, after the accounting, we have this system, that system, and then DBO. So internal processes which regulate that even if the hacker gets access to 1C, he's not going to be able to do this. Because the company doesn't just have technical limitations, but also certain internal procedures and certain business processes. And very often the argument happens around technical. For example, you get access to some critically important system. We call them key systems, those systems which have a key influence against different business processes. However, there is no guarantee that you can violate this business process and transfer money, for example. So at the current moment of time, during this cyber exercise, we have specific goals. We tell them, okay, dear hackers who attack us, you have an objective to transfer money from our account to another account. So in positive, they can take big amount and transfer it to a certain amount. Well, we don't say big amount, but the fact of money transfer is important to us, to a specific account. So we would like to check not only the technical limitations that we have inside of our infrastructure, not only the technical means of protection of the information SOC and IT activities, but also would like to check the propriety of organizational controllers, which are built within the business processes. It's interesting because when we've been discussing those business risks, owners of those business processes, where these inadmissible events have landed, they are getting involved in it. And in most of the cases, they know where you can make a trick. Okay, let's speak about it. You've been listing a lot of different risks, financial risks, technological risks, and maybe some other risks. Who are those people you approach to formulate those risks? Let me begin with an example of my company. In our company, the risks are being formed by top management, CEO of the company, other top managers. And we've been doing it in an iterational manner. We have a big list and a number of those inadmissible events. We have approximately 30 of them. Then we started discussing them and started looking at different options, different scenarios of what is going to happen if this will happen or that will happen. And in result of these discussions, we have understood that we have a limited number of specific 4 inadmissible events, which can bring a great damage to the company. And looking at the international experience at those incidents and statistics of those incidents that we've seen in the infrastructure of other companies and globally, basically these 4 inadmissible events are applicable for most of the companies. So many companies are afraid when their money are going to be stolen. For example, in the accounts of the company, they have a lot of money. It's inadmissible event for them. And from my point of view, all the developers, they have to seriously treat supply chain attacks. There was a lot of public situations. Can you disclose it how this might happen in our situation? Well, supply chain, when the criminal injects a certain code, maybe backdoor, vulnerability, or anything else, then it gets into the assembly and then distributed amongst our clients. So the criminal, with the help of our distributions of this vendor, gets into their infrastructure. And well, I've been speaking about solar wind supply chain. This is the mass product. So in our portfolio, we have more than 10 products like this. And some of them have big distribution among our clients, among big business clients in Russia. So to us, this is inadmissible event. And practically, when we do incident investigation, the first time supply chain we've seen 4 years ago, when the vendor was compromised, and through the vendor they've entered to certain big organizations. It's a pain, it's a problem. And from my point of view, each vendor should take care of this and responsibly approach the process of development. Look at how does it work, what are the results, which distribution, which stages does it go through, how easy is it to change something in this distribution software. And another important thing is that most of the people approach it formally. They say, okay, we have a certified process, we have checked it, the papers have been filled and submitted. That's all right, but in real life, after analyzing this inadmissible event, we understand that there's a lot of attack vectors through which supply chain attack can be realized. I can speak even about those vectors which are related to open source products. It's not a secret from anyone. Big corporate developments, this or other way, are using open source components. Some libraries, open source components which are available to wide audiences, and you can integrate your product within them. So you can integrate your product there, and it's very important to check the version. Where did it come from? Maybe does it have a backdoor or injection in this component that you receive? Maybe it has certain vulnerabilities. Because last year and this year there was a lot of vulnerabilities that were printed in the news, Log4j and other ones. You speak there, they've been popular. Yes, these are very popular libraries, and big number of products are used by these libraries in their code base. Okay, speaking about biggest enterprise companies, 90% of them, they did have those libraries, and we've been analyzing our products as well. And inside of our products, if I'm not mistaken, in 4 of them, this library has been used. So we've been looking, and it's been used on many occasions. Yes, it was. So we've been analyzing how this vector is important for our products, about how the version complies, and then we've been producing patches, which have been closing this vulnerability when it was discovered. And this is very important because in the case of Log4j, it became very well known and everybody started researching this vector. However, taking into consideration the current situation in the area of information security, it doesn't give you the guarantee that anybody is not going to put it into a certain open source functionality. And there were some examples of it, of this library. Yes, there was a lot of examples when in open libraries they've been injecting certain code which have been showing certain windows with certain messages, or the functioning has been stopped on the territory of Russian Federation. And this is a very important story, and we should work on this. On the basis of a positive infrastructure, how many teams do we have in this cyber exercise? Well, I have lost the count. And for the first time, I feel really worried. It's very interesting. Well, the first time, it was back then, we have approached it very cognitively. Well, in our company, we've been conducting a lot of pen tests. We've been attracting our hacker team as well. At a certain moment of time, we have attracted them so that they would work in a concept of inadmissible events to demonstrate what they're able to do. And it was, well, right now 22, it was back in 2020. Yeah, it was back in 2020. Then we looked at the result. And we have been able to formulate those inadmissible events. Well, before you've been speaking about those inadmissible events, you've looked at results and how good was it, considering that we're a technological company, considering that these were the first cyber exercises of this kind? Well, cyber exercises, they have different functioning modes. In our first cyber exercise, we've been trying to prove that inadmissible events are possible inside of our infrastructure. And that's why IB and SOC infrastructure, they have not been fighting with each other. They were able to get there, and they were able to show us the technical capabilities that they have received access to key systems, like 1C, for example. For example, I've reached this, and this node, and if I'll press the button, something's going to happen. Yes, most likely inadmissible event might happen. After this, we started changing the format of cyber exercise. First of all, we started changing the response in the infrastructure. Response is one of the most important points. It's impossible to build response in a company which would be successful and would respond to any hacker without internal processes. Well, I was asked not to touch it, and I'm not touching it. But right now, you send the ticket to the IT, and IT says, well, 3 days for blocking. And then you see how in the course of these 3 days, they've penetrated to your whole infrastructure. So we built response, we've been developing plans with IT, and we've been building control points so that we would see the chain of how hackers penetrate through the infrastructure. Then cyber exercise that we did have, we have invited one team, external team. We really worried about it because this external team was really strong one. We gave them a list of inadmissible events and we asked them to realize them. We've been checking them in 2 modes. In the mode of external criminal, and they were able to show realization of 1 inadmissible event. And then, so they were able to do something. Yeah. Then we led them inside of our infrastructure and we wanted to see how they will behave as internal fraudster. But always, I'm saying always that external and internal criminals, they are different by 1 step. 1 phishing letter, 1 account, 1 push, which you have pushed on dual factor authorization and identification. And we have switched off the response mode because we wanted to see how they're going to be able to do it. So you've been watching without responding. Yes, we wanted to investigate the fullness of coverage of our infrastructure because we wanted to see the whole chain. How long is this chain and what's going to be the visibility of this chain? Because we also have decided to look at very important parameter, how much time the hacker will need to realize this inadmissible event, because it directly influences the speed of response. In the same process, we've been tuning our detects, we've been tuning our products, new expertise pack for CM, for NAM, for AF, and we've been working with R&D department in this direction. So you've understood how the chain works, you've understood to which nodes they enter, where the product wasn't seen, where the process is incomplete. Yes, you're right. Roughly speaking, these were the second and first exercise. Then we've been inviting to other teams. And in the autumn of the last year, we have invited 3 teams. And right now, this year, in the beginning, well, approximately 1 month ago, we have invited our people to check once again our positive infrastructure. We switched off the response mode, and the objective of the SOC is to collect kill chains, to look at the tactics and strategies. And we've changed some things, because in the infrastructure of our company, we have U2, our meta product that we started producing from the last year. And during those cyber exercise that we've started 1 month ago, we are checking what U2 and how does it see the movement of hackers inside of the infrastructure, and how this chain, which has been seen by O2 with 1 operator and together with R&D team, how does it comply to the chain that is being seen by SOC? So we match these stories and we try to understand where SOC was faster, where U2 was faster. So your main objective is not just to understand how the hacker behaves to build your own processes and to improve the product, but also you have to teach U2 so that it would learn to work, at least not works as the expert team. Yes, we want to make U2 to work faster and with a better quality than our SOC, because we clearly understand that the team that we have in SOC, and we have high specialists in forensics, headhunting, first line, second line monitoring, analytics, and we have limited number of those people, and we can have like maximum 10 people in the market. And how many you have in this cyber exercise? How many experts do you have who understands how it works in your SOC?
Минимизировать свои человеческие ресурсы.
We decided to minimize our human resources, and we wanted to find that minimum of people that will give us proper results. So from the side of the SOC, per unit of time, we have 3 people on shift simultaneously. One of these 3 people, and we have started, well, these are interns. So this one person is an intern who just came to our company. This is the first or second dive into the info security area, and they're just learning. So they work 24/7. In different time zones they are located in order so that for everybody it's going to be maximum comfortable to work. We have minimized the number of people which currently monitor. So 3 people is enough for the shift work in SOC. Yeah. In addition to this shift SOC 3 people, in the information security department, we also have the shift from the IT department. It's only one person who follows the operability and who also checks all the tickets and response tickets, or the source connection tickets, or maybe the other changes in the infrastructure would be done correctly. Then, if I'm not mistaken, in 24/7 mode, we have another person in the support department who is involved in support and operationability of the product, because SOC is not involved in CM engineering and sandboxes. For their operability and for their exploitation, we have another department being responsible. Well, it's not a lot. So you've listed about like 5 or 6 people, but in typical security shift. That's not it. That's not it. So in this shift, we have 5 people. Also, you have to take into consideration that some shifts are 8 hours long, some shifts are 12 hours long. So in order to close these 24/7, you have to multiply these 5 people by 4, because some people get weeks, some people go on vacation, some people get sick. So you have to multiply it by 4, so you have 20 people. So when you have those 20 people, you have to manage them, you have the head of the group, and according to our estimation, so approximately 25 people, and this is the proper number of people, which is sufficient for the infrastructure which looks like ours, where we have up to 10,000 assets. If the number of informational assets is going to grow, if the number of facilities will grow, then the number of people will also have to be increased, because this number of people will not be able to cope with this volume. And point number 2, to this number of people, well, we've been approaching this number quite a while, maybe a year and a half. In our initial steps, we had much more people within a shift. From our side, from tech support side, because during real tests, we start understanding that we have to automate more, or we start understanding where we need to have shorter horizontal connections to be built, product functionality that has to be improved. Or, well, for example, I know R&D people are approaching SOC team and they say, which buttons do you press most often? And they say, okay, every 30 minutes we press this 1, 2, 3, and then next release says, well, instead of these 3 buttons, you have to press this 1 button which will cover these 3 processes, which speeds up the process. So we give a big input to this cyber exercise, not only from the point of view of our own positive security, but we also introduce real experience and methodology of exploitation of our products and their development. The final question that I have to you. For example, we are going to conduct another cyber exercise, and we're going to convince that the infrastructure is reliably protected. Everything has been optimized, everything is right and steaming. Okay, then we are going to start back bounty in the positive infrastructure. After this, we are going to announce the positive back bounty for the whole positive infrastructure. And the cherry and the cake, the ideal result will be when every external hacker who is motivated by a very expensive bug bounty program, not my SOC will be responding, but you too will be responding, and not 25 people, but 4 people who are going 24 by 4 days. So the automatic response with proper discovery, with proper response, with proper chain discovery. It's the result that we would like to achieve. And then as a next step, we have to understand that we're not losing this result because we see new vulnerabilities. We discover them. We change business processes. We produce new sites, new products. IT infrastructure is a living and breathing product. And it's not just a result that you have achieved. No, when you get to this paramount, well, you see the new mountain and you have to reach another paramount, and in 36 days a year you have to check that you don't have any problems and that you are able to operationally and continuously maintain this information security level, and in such a way to be a public example that this is achievable, that this is possible, and how our products work with all of this, and how is it necessary to build informational security on the basis of the inaccessible events concept. Thank you. Inadmissible events which might happen in digital infrastructure of the company and may entail serious consequences that Alexei was speaking about. For every team, these events could be different, but there are a few of them. For example, this is the theft of big amount of money, injection of malicious code into the source code, if it's a development company. If it's a technological company, they have the SCADA. When the SCADA can be broken, which can damage the industry significantly and even sometimes lead to human casualties. So the cyber exercise is a necessary tool to check how the company is sustainable to respond to such inadmissible events. An interesting experience that you have. It's going to be interesting when this cyber exercise will be completed, and we're going to tell to the audience which result did we achieve. And another important thing that you've told us is U2, because we've been announcing U2 some time ago, and it's very interesting to follow how it's developing. And right now, product is on the stage when expert team inside of the infrastructure is learning to detect hacker attacks. And therefore, we do automated protection. Thank you, Losha. Thank you.